So thank you everyone for joining our session today. My name is David Cerna. This is called Understanding Learning Modalities, Instructional Mode at UDC. I'm very pleased to have Ms. Tiffany Cooper, University Registrar, as well as Ms. Fatma Elshobokshy, Acting Director here at the Center for the Advancement of Learning. So thank you again for joining us today. So really our webinar is objectives are by the end of this webinar, participants will be able to identify the different learning modalities and recognize their requirements here at UDC, as well as distinguish between schedule type list and instructional methods in Banner, and also where to locate resources that can be very helpful for you. And our agenda for today will answer some questions. What does a learning modality or instructional mode mean? As well as the different learning modality types and instructional modes here at UDC, schedule type versus instructional method, what challenges have you been experiencing? And we'll also end with resources that are available here. If you do have any questions, please put those in the chat box for us. And if you do want to say at the end, we'll have some time for Q&A. Feel free to go ahead and unmute at the end. And with that, I'll pass on the baton to Fatma and Tiffany Cooper.
Hi, everyone. I'm Fatma Elshobokshy. I'm the Acting Director of Center for Advancement of Learning. Thank you, David, for providing the space to be here. And thank you, Tiffany, for joining me. And thank you, everyone, for participating. This is really a hot topic. Because of the pandemic, we have a lot of changes. So we thought, let's bring it to a discussion. And I appreciate if you have any questions. We are a small group, so unmute your mic and tell us what you think. So the first things that I want to discuss about what does learning modality or instructional method mean? We had really to answer some questions to come up with a definition. So the definition that we came up with is learning modality type in instructional methods is defined as the methods of student engagement with peers, course content, assignments, and instructors. So, and the question that we had as a team to really ask ourselves, what is the classroom format? How do you conduct your teaching methods? How the student engaged with the course content and assignments, and how the student interact with their classmates. And we thought this is like a comprehensive definition to what is instructional method means. And we think is, and we call it, sometimes learning modalities is different than instructional methods, but we thought to put both of them because instructional method is the naming convention that we have in Banner. When Miss Tiffany will talk about it later in this presentation. So let's have some fun. So this is the learning modalities or instructional methods that we have here at UDC. Can you unmute your mic or even in the chat? Do you recognize these codes? Just unmute yourself and tell us. I hope that we're face to face. We could have bring you chocolate, but now maybe we can give you applause. Okay, so Ingrid, so can you recognize, tell me what is FTF? What is PHY means?
Now I feel like I'm in class. So FTF is face-to-face.
Yay!
Emergency remote instruction. OL is online. And then I know one of those is hybrid, but then I forget the difference between, so BHY and FLX is the one that I forget exactly what they're called.
Okay, but you deserve a round of applause. Yay! Okay, who can identify BAHY and FLX? C.A.L team, maybe?
I know the answer already, but let's see.
Anyone else? Anyone else?
Last call.
Last call?
Last call.
All right, BHY is hybrid, a blended hybrid, exactly like Julian said. right on the spot, Julian. And FLX, David, this is your area.
High flex.
High
FLX,
flex.
my favorite.
So, and we have a lot of confusion around them. And the thing is about the codes is really important because this is what you have to enter in Banner. And we need to know what are the differences between all these learning modalities. So one of the things that I want to ask you, what in learning modalities that we added after the pandemic? What do you think? Already David give you the answer though. That's a cheat sheet.
The emergency remote.
Exactly. And what else?
The high flex.
High flex. Yay. We have two winners. Emergency and high flex. And this is really expand on our offering. But it also, it will, we are here to kind of identify the differences between all these codes. Any question about these codes before we move to the next slide?
Can you tell me what the OL is again, please?
Online.
Online. Thank you.
FTF, face-to-face, BHY, blended hybrid, FLX, high flex, ERI, emergency remote instruction, OL, online. All righty. Can we move to the next slide? All right. So every learning modality here, it has really it has requirement and it has a way to conduct in the classrooms. So, and we have some videos for you to show you the difference between each one of them. So for face-to-face, David, you want to play the video?
A traditional course is also known as a face-to-face course, where students and instructors meet in a selected classroom at a designated location and at a specific time. The UDC learning management system is Blackboard, and the platform is used for accessing course content and activities. The registration code is FTF.
All right. So when we talk about I think face-to-face is a traditional classrooms that we know, and we don't have any requirement. It's just this is the default of all classrooms. And Tiffany, please jump in if I'm wrong. That's the default of any class we offer. Am I correct? And when we say FTF, it doesn't mean that we meet virtually with the student. It means that we have to be in a classrooms in the schedule that it's provided by the registrar. Any question about that? And we have to meet the whole time in person, not with the Zoom, not in WebEx. Any questions about the FTF code and face-to-face or traditional classrooms format? We're all good to go? Thumb up, everybody, thumb up. All righty. So the next modality that we have is BHY, which is the hybrid or blended modality. And now David will play the awesome video that the team created.
A hybrid blended learning environment combines face-to-face and online models. The UDC learning management system is Blackboard. The platform is used for accessing course content and online activities. For face-to-face instruction, location and meeting times will be listed on the course schedule. The registration code is BHY.
So as you can see here, the BHY is the hybrid or blended courses that it's combined between face-to-face and online, which is asynchronous. It doesn't mean combined between Zoom and asynchronous. It doesn't mean combined between asynchronous and I mean it's not totally online. It has to be face-to-face and asynchronous instructions. So if the faculty can't meet with the student face-to-face, it's not okay to meet in Zoom. It has to have a face-to-face instructions. And any courses that offered in hybrid format, it has to be approved online through peer review processes. And we have to provide the CIF form and it have process in order to really deliver it in this format. Any question about the blended hybrid format instructions?
Yes, a quick question. So if my class starts off face-to-face and then for some reason I notice the attendance goes down, I can't just transition it to an online class. It has to already be coded as such?
Yes, great question, Julian. You cannot change the code of the course. It's if the course is coded as face-to-face, you will have to keep meeting with your student in person. You cannot change it to hybrid or online or HyFlex or ERI just without informing the director or your academic leader.
I would like to add to that. The other reason why it's not okay to just change it is because it could also present challenges for various students in your class. For instance, if you have international students in your class, they have a requirement to meet face-to-face. And so if you change it to an online or virtual modality, it could cause issues for their eligibility because that has to be reported to the CVIS coordinator and also to Homeland Security to make sure that they're meeting certain hours in person. They have to know where they are. And it could also present challenges for other students who may need certification for different things. We would report it as blended hybrid or face-to-face if that's what's in Banner. But the student could come back and say, well, it's really online because my professor changed it as such. But our office would not be able to certify that because we can only certify what is being reported from the system.
Yeah. So in short, we cannot change the modality. It's you have to follow the code in the classroom instructions because there is a lot of consequences happening because of the changes that affect the student retention, affect the students.
Yeah, and I see a question in the chat box from Ingrid. How many hybrid blended courses does UDC offer?
We have currently a list. Julian, can you help me out? Is it 156 we have or 210? I can't remember the exact number.
Up closer to about 210 courses.
Yep. All right, so now we know the FTF, the hybrid blended, and we are going now to David's zone is FLX, the HyFlex. So David, can you play the video for us?
HyFlex stands for hybrid and flexible. HyFlex courses allow students the flexibility to self-select their preferred learning method, either face-to-face or remote. Classrooms are equipped with video conferencing tools that allow for remote students to synchronously interact with face-to-face students. The UDC learning management system is Blackboard, and the platform is used for accessing course content and online activities. The registration code is FLX.
So with that, as you know, David, he's the one that really do the training for the HyFlex, and he coordinating all the HyFlex. He's our superstar HyFlex coordinator. So David, I want to give you the chance to talk about the HyFlex modality.
Yeah, so the HyFlex modality really gives the flexibility for students to either come face-to-face in person at our 6th floor or virtually, and they can join remote. As you saw in the video, they can either join remotely via WebEx, which we recommend, or Zoom. They use those web conferencing tools that are synchronous. They allow students to self-select their preferred mode or preferred way to be in that class, either remote or face-to-face.
Thank you, David. And one of the requirements to be in a HyFlex, you have to be certified. David delivered a hybrid training. It's a 4 days asynchronous and then face-to-face 4 hours training. And then most of the all the HyFlex classrooms happening in the classrooms and HyFlex classrooms, which is in the 6th floor.
Yep.
So if you are interested to teach in HyFlex, please get in touch with David. He will give you options and what are the upcoming training for you.
Yeah, and since we are talking about that, our next training is from April 7th through 14th. As Fatma mentioned, the majority of that is the asynchronous content that's hosted on Blackboard. But on the 14th, which is a Friday, there is a 4-hour in-person training where you really go over the in-person instructor role play, as well as the remote student and in-person student. So if you'd like to sign up for that, you can see that in the chat box. That is from April 7th through 14th.
Mm-hmm. So then we're gonna get to the ERI, Emergency Remote Instruction. So let's play the video and we'll talk about it after.
Emergency remote instruction is a temporary shift to an alternate delivery mode in response to crisis circumstances. Students will meet with their instructors online via web conference platforms at scheduled times with set deadlines and due dates. The UDC Learning Management System is Blackboard, and the platform is used for accessing course content and activities. The registration code is ERI.
So for ERI, do you think that we are now operating on ERI learning modality? Anyone? I want someone to guess. No guess? Anybody in the, yes?
Aren't we still operating under that for some of the courses?
Yeah, so I think I think community college, some are, but most of our classes now, we're not operating under ERI. Am I correct, Tiffany?
Yes, that's correct. For the main campus, the courses are mainly face-to-face or blended hybrid or online. The ERI right now is mostly for the community college due to the transition that's happening with the space.
Right, and that's where I'm located.
Okay.
Community college. Okay, thank you.
So, so the ERI is, we cannot just use it because it's convenient and we got used to it. If it has to be we have to really code it in banner that the course is ERI. So we need to be careful with that when we use it in our classrooms. Any questions for ERI before we move to our online?
Hey Fatma, I had a question.
Sure.
Is there any possibility in the future, because I know that other universities and other colleges are also sticking with the remote instruction, and they call it synchronous instruction, and so I think the emergency part is what maybe keeps people like what is that? We're not because at this point we're still getting out of the pandemic, but we're still in it. So is there any thought about moving forward as an institution, just dropping the emergency part and just keeping remote instruction? Because I do think that there is a benefit. I teach for the community college as well, and I know that there's a big benefit for students who, they're working and they're commuting and they're dropping off their kids and their grandkids and they're cooking and they just have like 1,000 things to do. And so removing that commute or removing that, transportation or, the parking permit and all that stuff, I think is useful for them.
I appreciate your feedback and your comment, and I will refer it to that could be high flex. So because some students like to be in face-to-face and some of them like to be synchronous, like virtual. So that could be the high flex. And I know that community college is going to offer high flex classroom soon.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. So, all righty. Any other questions? Shall we move to online? All righty. Thank you, Dave.
Online courses provide most, if not all, instruction online via the internet asynchronously. This has no required on-campus components. 80 to 100% of the activities are provided and submitted online. The UDC Learning Management System is Blackboard, and the platform is used for accessing course content and online activities. The registration code is OL.
Thank you, David. And we also have our superstar, Julian. He always working with the online and course design. So I want to give him a chance. If Julian, you want to give us a little bit of about online at UDC?
Absolutely. You kind of caught me. I was in the middle of my water. No, so the great part about our online here at UDC, as they said, is entirely online, asynchronous. One thing we do ask, though, just like Fatma mentioned, Tiffany mentioned earlier, is not to convert your course to online if it's not already online. For a course to be fully online, it should be built in a certain fashion, a certain design, and that design lends itself to being fully asynchronous. So if your course is face-to-face or blended or hybrid, if you want to work on converting it to an online design, that's a conversation that you can have with me and Fatma after the webinar. But we definitely support all faculty in transitioning their courses if that's something that them and the department agreed upon.
Thank you, Julian. And also to add to Julian, the online courses, if you are interested to convert your courses, that has to go through a course of action through your committee, the curriculum committee, the dean, and to get the CIF form. And then once all that happening, we can work with you on designing the course and peer review, and it will be officially approved. So by saying that, we covered all learning modalities at UDC and instructional methods. And I want to open it. If you have any question about each modality or anything before I pass the baton to Tiffany. And I just want to add something. So as you saw in the video, we always bring Blackboard as the center hub for all the course material and interaction, because this is really the core of everything. So whether you're teaching any course with any different learning modality, all the content and all the course materials and engagement, it should be within the Blackboard. So it will really help our student to focus on the learning process rather than just not knowing where they are starting and what their course is. So this is why we have everything related to the Blackboard. So with that, I will close it and I will give it to Tiffany.
Okay, so before I say, okay, so we know there are instructional methods, which Fatma just shared with us, but also on a student schedule, and you will see on the university catalog when you're searching the schedule, you'll also see schedule types. And there is a difference between the two. And so schedule types indicate how the course will be conducted and are set up according to the way the course was approved for the course catalog. And as you've heard mentioned earlier, it's through the course inventory form, or CIF is the term that you will hear frequently for creating new courses, or if you wanted to change the schedule type or the instructional method. And they exist for the purposes of identifying and reporting information about academic scheduling. And so the instructional method officially is the delivery method for a specific section of a course. Together, the schedule type and instructional method reflect the methods of student engagement, the peers, course content, and assignments as mentioned earlier. All right, and so now we will show you the different schedule types, and you all are familiar with these. There's the lecture, which is the primary focus, is the delivery is by the instructor through a presentation of the academic subject matter. Then there's the lab, which is the part of the course for experimental hands-on practice. And then we also have courses that are combined lecture and lab, meaning the student doesn't have to register for two separate parts. They only have to register for one section that has the lecture and lab together. And then there's independent study, many of you are familiar with, which is organized instruction or research that's solely determined by the student and the instructor, and they work together on their own schedule doing research. And then we also have seminar, which is typically mostly our topics courses in the catalog. And this is where the course is designed for conversation and debate on different topics within different subject matter areas. And here along the side, you'll see there are many other schedule types. These may not be as most widely used as the previous ones mentioned, but we wanted to share this list with you. And just so you know, we currently don't have a list that's transparent on our website, but we do plan to create a list for everyone that's transparent on our website for faculty and students, so everyone has the same understanding about schedule types. And one important thing to note, we'll stress this frequently, especially if you reach out to our office or even your department to say, hey, I want to change my course, similar to the question that was asked earlier. Can we just change a face-to-face course in the middle of the semester to an online course? And so only one schedule type is available for a course. That means when the course inventory form is submitted, only one schedule type can be provided. So if it's a lecture, it's always going to be a lecture for the life of its offering. And it's only able to be changed by submission of a CIF form, which goes through a whole approval process through your curriculum committee, your department, all the way up to the chief academic officer's office. So just wanted to reiterate that. And it would not be able to go into effect until the next academic year. We would not change it in the middle of the semester. Any questions about schedule types?
I have a question, Tiffany.
Okay.
So under other schedule type, I noticed there is a hybrid. So
yes.
So is it, so if they have the instructional methods BHY and they have the schedule type HYB, is this correlate together or no? What are the differences here?
I have the same questions.
Okay.
So even as we define the schedule types and instructional methods, and with transition of leadership, and with the COVID pandemic, I think some, and this one in particular, may have been created to assist with different offerings. Okay. But this one in particular is one that we will go back to the chief academic officer to confirm if this is truly going to continue to be a schedule type, or if it will strictly be an instructional method. Because of course, based on what we've provided today to clarify what each is, hybrid would not necessarily be a schedule type. It's really an instructional method, but it is currently in our catalog as available for a schedule type.
Okay. Thank you, Tiffany.
All right, so we've shared with you what the different instructional methods are, the different schedule types. Based on what you've seen in our schedule offerings, and even what you have experienced when advising students or helping students with registration, if there's anyone on here who has done that, what are the challenges that you have seen or experienced through any given semester?
I have some questions really. So when we got the list of online courses or HyFlex from you, I was thank you first for what you share. Is very informative, and it really line up what we really have been really experiencing. So the instructional methods, when we say online, sometimes the type is lecture. And it's okay to have that like that, because online, it doesn't mean lecture. It means it's a synchronous class. So, but it could be having video lectures. But does that sound correct? Or it's not? When we see this, we should know there's something wrong.
So typically, again, so it's the schedule type is how the course will be structured. So if it's a lecture and it's online, it could be that the instructor has videos where they have recorded themselves providing a lecture. Typically, like you said, that should not be the case. But we're still learning the online space here at UDC, and this is a very awesome webinar that we're providing today. And so we may going forward say, if it is an online course, it really should not be a lecture, because when you think about online, you think of, providing course readings and discussion and things of that nature, not necessarily watching a video of your professor providing a lecture. But again, it could be a recorded lecture that the student could watch on their own time to get the course information.
Yep. And it could be like also when the section provided to be online, we have limited options of them. So the instructional methods, it's online, then pop up for the schedule type. So it will be, rather than 16 list or 4 list, it will be like only 2, because it's online. You will have only 1 and 2. It might be online, asynchronous, or whatever it should be, rather than 16. So we don't know which one is it. That could be. Anyone else have questions, experience any challenges, feedback for Tiffany? This is really a great opportunity, since the system, she's working on enhancing the system and helping us understanding what we have to move forward.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I've experienced with some of the students and some of the advisors have here at the Student Success Center at the community college, where students, we've explained it to them, but for some reason they don't get the difference between the online and the emergency remote instruction.
Yeah.
So for example, they will register for a class and then find out that it's online and not an emergency remote instruction. And then they want to change. Also with the online classes, I've had students express that they've had a hard time getting the professors to reach out to them. They know how to go to Blackboard, but they'll send information to the instructors concerning the class, and then they get no response. I just had one last week. Come to find out, the class hadn't started yet. So that's probably why she did not get a response from the professor. But she was totally confused because she thought she was reading that she got an F in the class, and she didn't understand how that was happening. The division director ended up explaining to the student, in explaining to her, I understood that the class hadn't started yet, and that the F grade was probably from someone else at another time. But I'm bringing these two things up because I'm wondering if there is any other way to remind a student, so to say, when they are registering for the class, other than advisors letting students know, you have to pay attention. If you don't want the online or what you're talking about, you're not going to do well in an online class where you're pretty much independent. You need the emergency remote instruction, or the high flex course to take, so that you won't be on your own at the last minute after you've registered, scrambling, trying to get out.
Yeah, I appreciate your input. Thank you so much. And I agree with you. There is a lot of confusion around that. And that's why we started having this conversation, and we're having this webinar. And we also have a web page and we're going to share it with you now. And the webpage has all the definition with actually videos that we shared with you. And in the next couple of weeks, we're going to, Tiffany and I, we're going to talk more, and we can find out how we can make this available to students, how we can embed it in their initial email when they register. So maybe when they register, something will pop up, say, do you know the difference between virtual and, HyFlex and online? And I think I agree with you, this is needed. We embedded it in every course, all these instructional modalities, videos. But again, it's actually essential when they register, not after the registration part. So
Correct.
We appreciate that feedback. And Tiffany, I guess we have more work to do.
Absolutely. I think that's great. And I do understand the frustration. I know, again, I said it earlier, we're kind of new to the online arena of instruction. And I know schools who do it very well, they actually provide an orientation course for students starting an online class, because it does require a lot of self-motivation and knowing where to go yourself, because it's not that constant interaction with the professor. So the student really does have to know where to go to get the work they need, know to log on daily, because things will be announced daily, possibly. So that may be something that we look at, whether or not we need to provide, or like Fatma shared, at least a tutorial that shows students who are taking online courses where they need to go, how they should conduct themselves in an online course to make sure that they're successful. And then maybe sometime down the line in the future, incorporating an orientation course for students who are new to online courses. And that's kind of where it is. And to the piece where, because we've recently, again, started offering courses that start at staggered dates. We're not new to it, but it's new in the sense that a lot more programs are starting to utilize 8-week courses and 6-week courses. And so it may be something where we have again, the schools that do it really well, they send out a communication to students saying, your class is about to start in two days. You might want to log on and get acclimated with your course. So those are little things that can be done on the administrative side to kind of help students get more acclimated to those course modalities.
And we have hands up.
Ingrid, I see your hand. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna second what Patricia said. So last semester I had an 8-week course that was online, and it was the second 8-week course. So I had students reach out to me at the beginning of the semester being like, hey, why don't you have anything on Blackboard? And I was like, well, the class doesn't start until October, and I sent them the syllabus just so that they could see it. And it was a lot of that, like, but or we're not going to see you, like, you're not going to talk to us, like, what's going to happen? And and I told them, like, hey, I have virtual office hours, like, I have time that I can become available for you if you need additional assistance for assignments. But I was wondering if it was possible, if, like, so I know that in Blackboard you can close the courses and you can open the courses. And so I think that maybe for those classes that are starting for, the second 8 weeks or the second 6 weeks, so the students don't see the course until later, because then they know they're going to take it during that semester, but then they don't see it in their Blackboard. Because unfortunately, I had students that were very communicative with me during the beginning of the term, and I let them know that, hey, we don't start until October. And then when October rolled around, I sent out the email, a week before, reminding them that class was going to start. It's an online class, blah, 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 blah. And then they just disappeared. Right. And so it was just kind of like, well, where did you go? So I think maybe because they had just sort of seen the Blackboard there, I don't know if there was a possibility of just Blackboard, that course becoming open when the class starts, or like a week before the class starts. And in that way, you kind of, the students are like, okay, I know I signed up for this, but they don't have access to the course yet.
Yeah, I appreciate your comment. I think very valuable. We have been a little bit challenging with this in the past two semester, and my recommendation for the faculty that just when the classes got bashed into Blackboard, if you can just to put an announcement, doesn't have to be announced, it could be an item, say the class start on October. When they log in, they will see that, so they will be able to log in afterwards and know that they're gonna start later in the semester.
Yeah, and I think, I put announcements up the wazoo. I think my students are sick of my announcements, but, at the same time, I get a lot of, especially at the beginning of the semester, how some of our students just, they're reactive versus investigating what's going on. And so some of them don't even open Blackboard, right? So they just see you on their schedule and they're like, oh, this is my professor, and they'll email you, but they won't, go into the nuances of like, oh, my class doesn't start until, later.
Thank you. No, and I'm going to follow up question with Tiffany. The student, when they register to classes, I don't see the student registration. So will they see the dates and the codes or the modality of the course? Is it obvious?
Yes, it is. So when they register for the course, everything is there. So the registration, I wish I had a screenshot for you for the registration. But when they register, they go to the course they're looking for, and it provides all the sections that are available. Okay. And each row of sections, it has their meeting times, the dates, the start and end dates, the days it meets. If it's synchronous, it'll be blank. If it's asynchronous, because no time is there, it'll tell them whether it's face-to-face or online. It'll also share the schedule type. All of that's there when the student selects the course. And again, this speaks to just students not being aware of what the different modalities may mean. And sometimes a lot of the students, even though it's there, they may not read that information. They skip over it and just look at the times and say, oh, this fits my schedule, not really looking at the actual start and end dates, because it doesn't say this is 6 weeks or this is 8 weeks or 16 weeks or 15 weeks. It just says the start date and the end date. So that may not be quickly known by the student if they didn't pay attention to the actual dates.
And we might have to create any kind of informative video on each modality on what to expect, not what is it, what to expect. So if it's online, you're expecting to log into Blackboard to interact with the course content. If it's virtual, not virtual, if it's a high flex, this is what to expect. The faculty will communicate with you before the start of the classrooms, and maybe the 8 weeks need to be addressed so they know. And maybe this is something in the registration or the orientation when they register or got admitted. More work to do.
And I don't know if this is possible or helpful, but I used to teach at CCBC, and when students signed up for online classes, there would be like a pop-up that would show up, and it was very like, you are signing up for an online class. Do you understand that this is an online class? And it was like, yes. And then it was like, are you sure? And it was yes. So it was like a way for them to like really be paying attention. And even for, because they had late starts, 5 week, 8 weeks, and those were 2. So it was kind of a pop-up would show up being like, do you understand that this class is 8 weeks, or do you understand this class is 5 weeks? So then nobody could sit there and say that they didn't know.
That's a good way of doing it, to make sure they read and sure what it is. But we're not sure if our system can do that.
Definitely look into that.
Yeah,
that was a good suggestion.
Yeah, or Tiffany, sometimes it's not even, when you hover over, you got a pop-up to say something. I saw that in other school. All righty, any other questions? suggestions, challenges? Alrighty, so I think we're gonna go with that with resources. So far, what we have, we created this web page for you and your student as well, and we're gonna add to it in the next months or so. The udc.edu/cal. David, is it possible to go to our website to just to view the page that we're talking about?
Yes, so I'll go ahead and share that website. I also put the link in the chat box for you. It goes over the different learning modalities, but let me share what that looks like. And it includes all the videos that we also viewed today as well.
And we're going to add also what Tiffany talked about, the schedule type and the instructional methods as well in the next month or two. And you can link it to your student. And I think it's inside the student resources in each class, in each Blackboard course. So if you are communicating with the student in the beginning of the semester, we really encourage you to take the videos and put it in your announcement and tell them this is what you signed for. So maybe they drop the course from the beginning of the semester and they know what to expect. So you go to udc.edu/cal and you click on the learning modalities and you're going to get into this page. And soon we will also have it on some other places in UDC website. And the other resources that we have, if we can go back to the presentation, David, I'm sorry.
Yep.
If you have any questions about the learning modalities or instructional mode, please email calhelpdesk@udc.edu. We will get back to you as soon as possible. And if you have any question for Banner Admin 9 questions, you Registrar, am I reading that correctly?
Yes.
At udc.edu. Any other resources that we are not aware of it, Tiffany?
As far as course modalities and instructional methods, no, I think this is really comprehensive for at least this piece.
All righty. And
excellent.
With that, yeah, go ahead, David.
Yeah, so all those resources are in the chat box. We do want to just make you aware of a professional development webinar tomorrow from 12 to 1 p.m. That is called Visualizing Your Course Level Data Using EAC. That is with Ruth Newberry, Director of the Institutional Effectiveness Portfolio Manager for Global Professional Services. So that will be all about course reporting. That's in Blackboard, analyzing rubrics and exams, really giving you valuable insights into student performance. Again, that is from 12 to 1 tomorrow afternoon. If you do want to sign up for that, I did put the link in the chat box. And Ms. Cooper and Fatma, anything to add as final thoughts?
No,
I have a quick.
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Ms. Cooper. I have a quick question. Are we going to be given a copy of these slides, those of us that participated today, or just the link to the web page that gives us the explanations and the videos?
This will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. So
Okay.
I'll send a copy of that to everyone on the call.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, David.
Thank you. Ms. Cooper and Ms. Elshobokshy, Ms. Fatma, anything to add before we say goodbye today?
No, I just wanted to say thank you for allowing the opportunity to share this information with everyone, and thank everyone for taking the time to join us.
I also appreciate Ms. Cooper to work with me on this, and collaboration is important for this matter. I really appreciate the insight that you added to this. It was really spectacular. And thank you everybody for joining, and for our superstar, David, thank you for hosting us. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you everyone. Thank you both, especially. This has been a pleasure, very informative. And for everyone else on the call, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate your time and efforts and your questions, but we will see you very soon. So have a good day, everyone.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you all. Have a great one.
Bye-bye.